Sister? I thought I saw you wandering up the hill. Are you all right? You'll catch a cold if you stay out here too long. Oh, come on, up you get. No. What's gotten into you? It's a good thing I stepped outside when I did. I'd had to think what would have happened if you had gotten stuck up there all by your lonesome. You feel quite clammy. Where'd your friends get to? Did you get lost? You were the new one, easy to do around here. I still have to second-guess myself sometimes if I wander further than the inn. We can send you up to the Abbey once you're warmed up. Are you hungry? I'll tell the wife we have a guest. Lucky enough, we've always kept enough around for 3. Here you are. Well, eat at your own pace. You should eat, though. Climbing that hill all by yourself, that's hard work. In those shoes, no less. Did something happen? She looks quite dazed. Sister, did someone get rough with you? Or did you have a fall, perhaps? I imagine it'd be easy. That path hasn't been taken care of in donkey's years. Is there anything we should tell your abbess? Eat up, dear. This is not on. If one of those towny bastards mistreated her, they won't hear the end of it. She's shaking her head. Oh, thank God for that. Do try to eat something. Whatever happened has clearly rattled you. Catherine. A dead woman? No. No, she means our Catherine. Birthmark on her face. If you say so. I'm rubbish remembering that sort of thing. The tall woman from the estate. You remember? Ah. So she really did take the vows. Well, I'll be. Yes. She lives in the Abbey now. I cannot bring myself to look at them. And do you think she could kill someone? What sort of question is that? Well, yes. Harold! It's common knowledge. Well, even still. You're upsetting her. She's clearly a little touched right now. What is common knowledge? Well... Harold, do not upset her any further. She killed her husband, didn't she? And now look what you've gone and done. Who is her husband? The lord of the estate by the lake. It was a terrible scandal. And there was proof? Well, not that I know of. But it's proof enough, I suppose, that she opted to take the veil. And we should stop talking about this. It's not proper. Why would she kill him? It had something to do with infidelity, if I remember right. It's not spoken of anymore. The whole village puts it behind them when she left. And who is the lord of the estate now? Truth be told, I can't be arsed to come up with titles and whatnot. The new lord only visits occasionally, I think. A house with a murder like that hanging over it. I can't imagine it's very comfortable to stay there long. How did Catherine's husband die? She cut his head clean off with his own sword. Or so they said. I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But one way or another, he ended up without his noggin. Nasty business. Nasty place in general, this hill. Something here must drive folks mad, I reckon. First Catherine, then James. Rich or poor, something will grab you. I'd move, but that's a task easier said than done. They spoke so freely of the horrid crime. It was common knowledge, even. The answer, it seemed, had been available to me all this time. Several simple questions were all I had needed to ask. At the wife's urging, I tried to eat a little more of the pottage they had so kindly provided. It didn't take, however. I was elsewhere still. I felt shame. Shame for how long it had taken me to make any forward momentum on my task, for Catherine's sake. Shame for how simple the connections I had needed to make seemed now. I felt shame that it had taken a vision to put me on this path. What I had just experienced was a divine course correction. The kind of thing reserved, I imagined, for good sailors lost at sea or troops wandering in the desert. That I had been deemed worthy of this kind of direct messaging from God spoke very highly of Catherine. Surely I felt there were more important people to be helping than I. Perhaps I had been aided in their stead. Perhaps there was a prayer out there left unanswered because I was too foolish to do a very simple job. Perhaps, as impossible as it may seem to suggest, I was stupid enough to put a strain on God's omnipresence. Matthew 6:28. Perhaps I am lower than the lily, which thrives while wanting for nothing. So dramatic, I know. But am I wrong to think it? God provides for all, and God is not limited to any one action at one given time. Still, I feel sometimes that I could just be that wretched. Of course, as I might remind myself in a better mood, that's conceited talk. Or perhaps I'm allegorizing the flowers and the birds too heavily, as Augustine warns about. Who am I to complain, after all? I've suffered far less than Job, yet here I am lamenting more than he ever did. Whether I am damned or just conceited, there is no path that leads me away from shame. Ah, that must be your friend. The man stood up to get the door. I did not turn around. I was deep in thought, staring into that fireplace. The flames were more comforting, more understanding, more understandable than any pair of eyes I had ever looked into. I could hear pleasantries being exchanged, footsteps on the wooden floor. I could feel two cold, wet presences approaching behind me. Soon I would have to leave the comfort of the fireside to join them. Hedwig. Sister Moira. Sister Eustace. Can you forgive me? It was pointless to wait for a break in the rain, or so my companions said. The ride back up the hill to the Abbey was much soggier than the trip down. Some other travelers in carts flanked by armored horsemen passed by us at the village outskirts. They looked just as miserable as I felt. I could hear raindrops plinking against their helmets as they hurried into town. We sat in silence for the first third or so. I looked out the back of the cart towards the farmhouse chimney, yearning for the security of that fireplace until the building was out of sight entirely. I told the superior this was a bad idea, you know. You were wrong. Oh? Yes. I learned something very important today. Oh, really now? Yes. It would be difficult to explain. We have time. Now, Eustace. I've already forgiven the poor woman. There's no need to torment her. I'm not tormenting her. I'm curious. Well, after we split up, I watched a parade go by. There was a parade? No. There wasn't. I had finally given up on trying to stare into the increasingly distant fireplace and turned to face Eustace. She looked tired. So, what do you mean a parade? I mean exactly that. I'm sure you could understand. I had a vision. Really now? Yes, I swear it. I saw a parade, a procession of carts with no riders, all carrying grand kites and banners. And one of them, I thought at first, carried an effigy. But it was... Well, it got more mysterious after that, I suppose. What happened? Oh, yes, tell us. This is very interesting. Well, I followed that particular cart for a while. I suppose that was how I ended up wandering away from the town square. Understandable. I did tell you to stay put, but I might make an exception for a vision. Eventually, I lost him. But then I was carried through the air. I know this sounds quite strange, and then... Whatever the courage the fire had given me had finally waned. I could not bring myself to explain the entirety of my experience to Eustace, whose expression remained, dare I say it, inscrutable. And then I came to, I suppose. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. You flew? She walked. That farmer saw her climbing the hill. And do you not believe me? I believe you felt like you were flying. I felt it. I saw it. I was in the air, however briefly. The man said he found you laying down in the grass at the top of the hill, getting soaked by the rain. I know it sounds hard to believe, but it's what happened. Eustace sighed deeply and pulled her hood tighter over her head. People don't fly. Perhaps flying is the wrong word. I was being... carried? It's not like I had control of my faculties in the air. Like you were plucked from the earth by God's own hand. Well, yes. Sounds conceited when you put it that way. Moira, the man saw her climbing the hill. So he says. Maybe he saw her after she had come back to the ground. Or maybe both things are completely true. How would that work? Well, Hedwig could have been carried, and maybe the farmer was shown an image of her climbing. I mean, she would have been far away from the house, just sort of a shape, so he would go up and find her. So God carried Hedwig up the hill and showed an image of her to a man who was already nearby. 2 divine revelations within, I don't know, 10 or 15 meters of each other. Darcy has visions all the time. Why is Hedwig having one so hard to believe? So now we have 3 people in close proximity all having grand visions. It does beggar belief, just a tad. I think it's beautiful. Maybe this mountain is just special. Eustace let the squelching of the mud beneath the cartwheels answer for her. I just think it's possible, that's all. At any rate, it's a moot point to argue. I don't think Hedwig is lying, I just don't know if I can accept that it really happened. What about Darcy's visions? You've got an interest in those, haven't you? Darcy's are different. In what sense? Well, she's never claimed to be flying in any of hers. What does happen in hers, typically? Why don't you ask her and spare me the Inquisition? That was uncalled for. It's been a long afternoon. You can say that again. Can we all please make up before we get back to the Abbey? I'd like that. I'm sorry for being so hysterical. You're not hysterical. It was a cruel idea to force you into coming, I think. I'm sorry for insisting we stay longer. I wanted to tell Moira she didn't know the half of it. She didn't deserve to worry about having forced me to do anything when the Superior demanded it in the first place. No, my behavior was inexcusable. As it is all too often. I thought I caught a glimpse of Eustace rolling her eyes out of the corner of my eye, but perhaps she was just adjusting her spectacles. I can appreciate that this trip is an extenuating circumstance. Yes, I think next time I will stay at the Abbey if it's all the same to you. We should at least take you on a picnic or some such. Small steps, you know. You can't stay cooped up in the Abbey forever. I thought that was rather the point. Oh, you know, you have a dark sense of humor sometimes, Hedwig. The rest of the ride up to the Abbey was silent, but at the very least, it was a slightly less uncomfortable silence than the one that preceded this conversation. I didn't like the uncertainty, but it would have to do. The rain was showing no sign of letting up when we finally arrived. I was particularly bedraggled. The indignity of the laundry water incident was something that would stick with me permanently. And as soon as I hopped out of the cart, I made a beeline for the dorms to change. Oh, Hedwig, where are you off to now? The dormitory. I must get out of these wet robes or I'll never be dry again in my life. Why don't I draw a bath? I had to admit that sounded like a wonderful idea. You know, I think I would like a bath very much. We all would after an outing like that, I think. What a day is it again? November the 21st, I think. Perfect. I froze. I had not realized that Moira had meant we should all bathe together at once, and I did not like that idea at all. Oh, perhaps I'll have one tomorrow. Nonsense. You'll catch cold if you don't. Do we even have time to heat up water for it? With any luck, someone else has already had the bright idea to take a bath today. I couldn't help myself. I groaned aloud and pulled my hood over my eyes. What's the matter? I suspect... Well, you don't have to join us, Hedwig, but I think it'd be a good idea. Well, that decides it. Curse my wretched body! My body snitched on me! I would have escaped this humiliation if it weren't for that little sneeze, I'm sure of it. Oh, go on then. You two run up and get your change of frocks. Eustace, would you mind getting mine? On it. We made our way upstairs to the dorms quickly, dripping water all along the way. At the top of the stairs, I nearly ran straight into Darcy. Oh, good, you're back. I was just looking for you, Eustace. Hello, Dars. Do you have a minute? I need your help with something. Of course. Hedwig, would you mind getting Moira's clothes? Hers is the door between Catherine's and Darcy's. Oh, yes, I can do that. Eustace nodded and Darcy hobbled away, back down the staircase. Eustace stopped for a moment on the landing, however, and turned to me. Well, that reminds me. You should talk to Darcy later, you know. About your vision. Oh, yes, I will try to remember to do so. Eustace nodded, then disappeared down the stairs after Darcy. I quickly scooped up my dry frock from my dormitory. No suspiciously placed books on my dorm bed, I noted. It felt wrong to intrude in Moira's room, but at this point I desired nothing more than to get this whole exercise over with as quickly as possible. I opened her door and slipped inside, on the lookout for her spare clothes immediately. The last thing I wanted to do was gawk at somebody else's room uninvited. I could not help but notice how neat and tidy it was, however. There was a beautifully carved crucifix hanging on the wall above her pillow, and her reading desk was meticulously stocked with papers. A handsome quill sat next to an ink pot as well. To cap it all off, there was a beautiful little box resting on the desk next to the organized papers. The wood was clearly expertly carpentered, and it was gilded in a regal yet understated fashion. The whole room had a sense of carefully considered elegance to it. It was perfectly fitting for Moira. Simple, but radiant. Not vain, but reverent. Please do not tell Moira I just described her as simple. I did not mean it as an insult. Approachable? Uncomplicated? Steadfast in her positivity. The bath situation is a perfect example of what I meant. I had been so cruel to her in the village, and to be perfectly honest, Eustace wasn't exactly kind to her in the cart either. But Moira's instinct was to bring us closer together. There's a simple beauty to that. I think so, at least. Anyway. I quickly identified an impeccably folded set of clothes next to her bed, underneath the window. I scooped them up quickly. As I turned around, however... Ah! No. The pile of clothes I was carrying, I think, had brushed up against the quill resting atop her desk. I watched it tumble end over end to the floor, carrying the ink pot with it. No! Black liquid oozed out of the pile of broken glass. I scurried away and closed the door behind me in a panic. I checked the bottom of my shoes. There was nothing there, thank God. In reality, I was dead silent, but I promise you I could hear the bubbling, oozing, and dripping of the undoubtedly expensive ink I had just splashed all over the floor behind the door. If it's not one thing, it's always another with me. Was I being punished for dawdling once again? Should I have emphatically refused the offer of a bath and instead made a beeline to the superior's office? Should I have gone then at that very moment? Truthfully, I only came to that conclusion a bit later. In the actual moment, all I could think about was what to say to Moira, or if I should say anything at all. It's shameful to admit, but I was frankly terrified of putting any strain on our relationship at all after my embarrassing display in town. Moira was endlessly forgiving, but I worried that even I could find an end to her graciousness if I kept imposing upon her. And so I decided I would leave this. I couldn't leave quickly enough. I practically flew down the stairs. Suddenly, I was very eager to get into a bath. Anything was better than being caught red-handed with a broken bottle of ink, even bearing myself in front of Moira and Eustace. Moira was already in the tub by the time I arrived. Wait. She kept the habit on! That took me a minute to clock. Okay. She beamed as I entered the room. I kept my eyes low and deposited her change of clothes close to the edge of the wooden tub. Ah, was Eustace waylaid? Yes, Darcy needed her for something. Oh, well, thank you kindly. I realized there were two tubs similar to the one I had used to bathe my first time out of my cell. At the very least, I was relieved I was about to submerge myself in water rather than stand awkwardly in one of the many smaller wash bins stacked against the wall. I had been using those to wash myself whenever I could squeeze in a trip to the baths alone after I had discovered, to some horror, that communal bathing was considered the norm here. I thought 2 big tubs might be nice. The water's not hot, but it's pleasant. You filled these up fast. A miracle of engineering. This abbey is quaint, I will say, but I am very thankful for the thorough plumbing. The builders didn't skimp on that at the very least. She raised an arm to point at the wall behind her, and I instinctively shut my eyes. Oh, don't be silly. Anyway, the faucets are back there. They're quite quick. I had my own faucet in my cell, actually. But I didn't know it was connected to anything greater. Oh, you should take a walk around the cistern one of these days. It's quite fascinating. It's the oldest building here, if you can believe it. 200 years old at least, and it serves the kitchen, the baths, the lavatorium, and it keeps it all separate. I'm glad to hear it's all separate. I'll never feel comfortable here otherwise. But it's apparently not far off from the kind of water management you'll find in the richest castles. Truly, we are blessed. It might not always feel that way, but yes, I think we are. How does it work? I must admit I couldn't tell you. Sister Catherine showed me a diagram she found in the library once, but it was a bit complicated for me. I know much more about how bodies work than buildings, I'm afraid. Was that a euphemism, or... At this point in the game, like anything goes. Speaking of... She leveled a finger at me with a mischievous glint in her eye. Are you gonna get in the bath? You're looming a bit. Oh, well, go on. I'll shut my eyes, I promise. She squeezed her eyes shut in a fashion that she might have intended to be jovial, but I couldn't help but feel condescended to. Nevertheless, I sighed and began to gingerly shed my layers. I balled up my damp clothes next to the empty tub, then stepped in as quickly as I could. If I could avoid being seen at all, that would have been grand. I take it you're in. That's what she said, but anyway, I am. The water was not as warm as the bath Darcy had drawn for me after I had first left my cell, but it was still a relief to sink into it. Moira opened her eyes again, blinking comically. Whoa. Oh, this is nice. Indeed. I sank as low as I could and pulled my knees close to my chest. With my chin resting in the water, I could still peer at Moira over the lip of the tub. I did not want to be seen, but I also did not want to be rude. So at the very least, I maintained eye contact. Black and blue. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking aloud. Your humors, they're black and blue, aren't they? Well, mostly black. With a little phlegm for color. Does that sound about right? No points for guessing that, I reckon. Eustace had appeared in the doorway. She was already removing her hood as the door closed. I looked away out of modesty as soon as I saw that she was casually shedding all of her clothes and haphazardly tossing them aside as she walked. Well, it's my job to notice these things. Do me next. Oh, that's easy. You are as phlegmy as they come, with just as much yellow bile sloshing around in there for good measure. You're like a big, clever soup. Oh, goodness gracious. When are we eloping? Moira laughed, and I could hear her flick some water in Eustace's direction. Then I realized something that gave me an instant sinking feeling. Well then, who am I sharing with? Oh, good question. I didn't really think about that. Well, hurry up and decide. It's getting nippy. Can we not get a third tub? Oh, we only have the two big ones. We could, play a game to decide. Too late, I've made my mind up. I braced myself, but the splashing sounds that followed came from the other tub. I opened my eyes to see Eustace, looking as nonplussed as ever, sitting next to Moira, who seemed wholly unperturbed. Thank God, I thought. I've never seen you without your cap, Hedwig. I'd have guessed you had black hair, but I suppose I'm still surprised to see it. Oh, really? I feel like I knew the moment I saw her. Are my humors that pronounced? Well, yes, but whose aren't? Well, you put much more stock in that thing than I do, I suppose. Well, it is my duty to know. True enough. What color do you think my hair is, Hedwig? You're always wearing that thing in the bath, but I think I know. I'm asking Hedwig. Moira's still wearing her cap. She gestured at her head, dripping water onto Eustace's bushy brown hair in the process. I wouldn't really know how to deduce that. Take a wild guess. I frowned, squinting at Moira's eyebrows across the room. Some sort of, I don't know, dark brown? Chestnut brown? Does the accent not give it away? Ow! Moira elbowed Eustace, chuckling. No cheating! It feels like there's a clue you want me to recognize, and I'm just not seeing it. Hearing. Top of the morning to you, Hedwig. I don't get it. Oh my God. Don't say that. With an impish grin, Moira tugged her cap up a little. A few locks of jet black hair draped across her face. Oh. Huh. Just like you, Hedwig. Oh, how nice. Oh, consider me surprised. Did you expect a fiery Irish redhead? You win, you win. I genuinely had no idea what she was talking about. In fact, I was slightly irritated. I hadn't expected anything. How could I have? Even the considerate and kind Moira couldn't remember that until recently my entire world had been a few meters across. Oh, sorry for the misdirect. I couldn't help myself. Redheaded, like King David? King David had red hair. I thought he had brown hair. What does it say in the Bible? He's described as Rufus, which means redheaded. Oh, I always took that to mean he was, red-faced. As in his whole head is red. Really? I can see that interpretation, but... besides, in Song of Solomon, I remember thusly... that, whatever she says there. My lover is red-headed, his hair curly and black. And whatever that is... golden-faced is used similarly to red-headed here, I should think. You might be right. Oh, this is so exciting. I'm caught between two true scholars. It's like I'm at a real council. It's our job. Oh, that's right. Still, I like Hedwig's interpretation. It's fun to think about David having red hair. It's dramatic. I didn't care for Moira's use of the word interpretation here. Either Eustace was correct or I was, and I didn't much like the idea of being wrong, but I was grateful for the support. The conversation subsided for a while, and I became all too aware of the fact that this was a peculiar state for three women who had been at each other's throats earlier in the day to find themselves. I worried that Eustace and Moira felt the same way and prodded them with questions. So, do you do all of this often? I should hope so. Bathing is very important for your health. I think she means, you know, together. Oh, yes, well, it's a little embarrassing at first, I suppose, but it's efficient, isn't it? I don't really plan around it, but there's enough of us here that you're going to run into someone else eventually. It's how things are done the world over. The Romans had huge communal bathhouses. Monks washed together, too. I must admit, though, a private bath every now and then is to die for. I suppose I've been lucky. Whenever I've come to use a washbin so far, I've been all by myself. Is it difficult, being around other people, I mean? I really should have made sure this wouldn't be such a big leap for you, especially after the day you've had. I'm quite alright. But I'd rather no one looked at me. Whatever? That's right. Not while I'm in the nude, certainly. It's nothing we haven't seen before. They spoke in unison. Eustace down low, Moira way up high. Still, all the same. But I understand. If I take my spectacles off, you'll just be a pale smudge. Would that help? I'd prefer that over being defined. Right you are. I'll pop them off when it's time to dry off. By the way, Eustace, are you ever worried you'll drop your eyeglasses in the water? Those are really expensive, surely. Unbelievably. I'm lucky to have them. They're huge. I dread to think how much they cost. Is glass expensive? Oh, very. Oh my goodness, yes. I'm sure you've noticed there aren't too many glass windows here. Let me think. There's the Superior's office window, the chapel. I've had these for a very long time, and I hope they last. My eyesight's always been dreadful, but it could always get worse. Oh goodness, I'll pray for your sake. I wouldn't wish couching on my worst enemy. Couching? You cut the eye open and then... Ugh. I won't go into details. Thank you. So, Eustace, tell us, how did you afford those? Oh, that's a little forward, don't you think? Not true, but we're already in the bath, aren't we? Well, fair enough. I did some work for a glassmaker a long time ago and took these instead of monetary payment. Oh, what sort of work? Same as I do here, really. Information organization, maintaining a library, managing orders and logging events, that sort of thing. I was about to say, that sounds like a lot of work even for a pair of glasses, but I suppose none of us are being paid at all here. I get by fine. I don't miss the old job. And what made you come here? Well, I'd always wanted to retire to the countryside. And once I had a sturdy pair of eyeglasses, I reasoned, what else could I possibly want for? Oh, I don't know. A rich husband, a beautiful home. I never wanted those things. Nor I. I did once upon a time. Now, though, I agree with you two, I think. At the very least, it'd take more than that to get me away from here. You know, over the past few weeks, I've been so overwhelmed by everything new to me here. I'm not sure I will ever truly get used to it. This life of aestheticism might feel simple to you, but it'll never be simple to me. I was prepared to spend my whole life with much less than all this. That is a very helpful perspective, actually. Well, yes. That's important to keep in mind, I think. Are you feeling better after everything that happened today, Hedwig? I don't know. Most of all, I feel embarrassed. As I feel about my behavior in the Misericorde yet still. I'll forget about it. I'll forget about it. Yes, there's no need to worry, really. I think I would fare worse if I were in your shoes. And we can help you get better. In fact, I think it's our responsibility. Perhaps it was because we were all relaxed from our baths, or perhaps there was something to be said for being naked and vulnerable in a room with other people after all. But the second round of apologies for the day felt genuine. I wondered how the ink on Moira's floor was faring. It was hard to relax with that in the back of my mind. The conversation slowed down as we all focused on washing and scrubbing, and I soon realized that the most difficult challenge was yet to come. When we're all done and it's time to, get dressed, could I go first? Of course, but why? Well, it's just like we've been talking about. I'm not used to all of this, and... it's a bit embarrassing. Yes, that's it exactly. Won't it be more embarrassing having us just sitting here watching you? Don't confuse her. I'm trying to help. No, she's right. I mean, the most embarrassing thing would be all of us at once. Why? Because then you'll both see me, and I'll see both of you, and we'll be close to each other. What if Eustace and I both close our eyes? That would work. Would it? Oh, or what if you two win first and I close my eyes? That seems more, I don't know, efficient. I wasn't aware that efficiency was a concern. Honestly, this is the most I've ever had to think about being naked. Hedwig, I appreciate the offer, but I'm happy with letting you go first. And closing our eyes? Yes, don't be difficult. We just said we'd do our best to make her comfortable. I have no problem with that broadly, but doesn't it feel a bit weird to worry this much about seeing each other in the buff? Naked as I came from my mother's womb and all that. Who cares? Now, that's not for us to judge. It is a little bit. What about Matthew 5:28 or Leviticus 18:9? Again with the Leviticus, we're not actually sisters. I don't think that passage applies. Sister is a term of formal address. It has nothing to do with being actual siblings of any sort. I know you know that. She was right, of course, but that just irritated me more. I had really been counting on my superior scriptural knowledge to excuse me for being personally embarrassed, but alas. Someone threw that lore dump right back in your face, Hedwig. Well, thinking about it, Hedwig, I know this might be difficult, but how about we all just try doing it the normal way? Getting out and getting dressed all at once. I think Eustace is right to some degree. Judas! In what sense? That it'll be more difficult in the long run if you don't get used to it. I don't think that's anything you need to worry about. I'll just keep bathing alone when there's no one else here. Can we make a decision before I get too pruny? I think we should all get out on the count of 3. You said that you weren't going to push me as far anymore. Hedwig, there are 3 of us here, and we all like each other. You had a tough day in the village, but you made it back in one piece. Surely this will be easy compared to what you went through all around all those strangers. I don't want to push you, but I also want to help you. And part of that, I think, might involve pushing you just a little bit. Well, she's right. If I have no choice, I had nothing left to argue with. My day had been thoroughly confusing, and if mingling naked with my shameless sisters was to be the capstone of the whole affair, so be it. I don't think it was Moira's argument that convinced me, however. Or rather, it might have, but only because it made me consider the full weight of what I had seen in my vision. I didn't know what it meant, but I certainly felt compelled by a newfound drive to stop stalling in every little aspect of my life. You do have a choice, but let's get it over with. So, what if I get a glimpse of your, socket? And this is why having a man narrate this entire story was probably a bad idea. Oh, good lord, that's old-fashioned. I'm a fancy little lady at heart. I took a deep breath and braced my arms against the edge of the tub. Eustace, however, was already standing up and drying herself off with a towel, and... You know, I've been meticulously detailed about almost every aspect of my days outside of my cell, but would you mind if I glossed over the rest of this? I don't particularly feel like describing Eustace and Moira's bodies any further, or my own for that matter. I've excised several minor details from my story, as it is, after all. I've been exhaustive, I will grant that, but I haven't told you every last meal I've eaten. I've not told you about every trip I've taken to the privies. I think our conversation in the baths was relevant information, but I think it will suffice to say that I did not enjoy getting dressed in front of my colleagues. But I was very brave about it. You can be rest assured of that. Pruning is just as much my responsibility as a chronicler as cataloging, wouldn't you agree? What is important about this ordeal is that I was actually quite courageous and did not make any sort of scene at all. I got dressed alongside everyone else, and we departed the baths without incident. Incident, however, was not too far away. As we passed the rectory on the way to the cloister, Moira gently grabbed my wrist. Hedwig, why don't we go in here? Whatever for? I have something I want to show you. In the rectory? We should go in. I was completely bewildered. The pair positioned themselves on either side of me and pushed me toward the steps up to the large wooden door. Oh no, I thought, this is it. They knew I'm nosing around Catherine's death. They're in cahoots. They were going to have me killed. No, I think I'd like to stay outside if it's all the same to you. Well, stop wriggling. Let's just go inside. It won't take a moment. No, thank you. What are you two doing?